Well, she's sat for 6 weeks and now she's running rough. Does not want to idle at all. So, I don't think anything in here could have went wrong since the last time I drove it. It was fine. So I'm guessing probably the fuel pump. So the first thing I need to do is check fuel pressure. So in order to do that, I actually had to order another gauge. And yeah, don't comment on the Porsche. It's a little dirty. But a fuel pressure gauge, let's see if this is the actual issue, and I'm sure it is. Let's go ahead and remove the fuel rail cover. And let's see what this looks like underneath here. Now I'm guessing that the fuel pump in this is original, so it wouldn't surprise me one bit if the fuel pump is just weak. And I need a smaller adapter for that. So I couldn't find the right gauge, so let's try a tire gauge. And there we go. 20 pounds. Yep. Sounds like a weak pump. First place we have to start is with the fuel filter. And if I remember right, the fuel filter is underneath this heat shield. So let's see if I'm right. It's been decades since I've changed one of these filters. But when there's a heat shield away from the exhaust, most likely that's covering a fuel filter. There she is. Now I just bolted on one side. 2 hose clamps. Should be quick. Paint tray. Those seem to actually work pretty good. Because it splashes away from you. Okay. Yeah. Notice the arrow? So the next one has to be installed in the same direction. This is a MAL fuel filter. KL66, links in the description. And these are like 25 bucks, which isn't bad. Again, pay attention to the arrows. Well, this is probably a good sign. So the fuel pump is in the interior, and it's behind this carpet right here. You see this little cutout. These perforations have never been cut, so that tells me that the fuel pump is original. So that is probably why it will not idle. So there's not a whole lot of room back here. I might be able to make it work, maybe. Might have to take the seat out, but anyway, I'm going to try to get this thing out. So let's get started. Okay. It's behind that door. So Phillips screwdriver, that's next. There's not much room back here. Well, I don't know. Let's see what we got. Maybe there's enough room to get out of the way. Okay. That is what we're looking at. So, not a whole lot there. 2 fuel lines with the original clips on them, and then the electrical connector. So this is a slide clip, so it pulls out like that, and then that connector can come off like so. Now I got to get a small screwdriver to break those factory clips free. Maybe this will work. This is just a regular automotive pick. Yeah, there we go. So you gotta wiggle these back and forth, loosen them up. Well, I got the other line off, and one thing I didn't film it when I popped it off. I should have, but this is a high pressure line, the second line, and it kind of sprayed a little bit, so this thing's gonna smell like gas for a little bit. I highly recommend that when you pop this off, put a rag over it, because I was surprised at how much it sprayed. So anyway, this is now ready to come out, so I gotta undo this huge nut flange, whatever you want to call it. So I'm gonna get a big screwdriver, and we're just gonna tap on it and loosen it up that way. I do have a pan sitting underneath this, and this is still full of a lot of fuel. My first mistake was I had the car jacked up on all 4 jack stands about a foot off the ground. What I should have done at this point, and what I recommend you do, is lower the back end of the car down. This will allow the gas to flow to the back of the tank and not be right here. I had a half a tank in this when I started, and basically I had to siphon out 3 gallons. Now, there's several different ways I could have done this. When I had the fuel pump off, I could have ran a line into a gas can and just bled it out with the key ignition and just using the fuel pump to actually draw the fuel out. Or I could have siphoned it out of the gas tank, or I could have just let the back end of the car down, which is what I should have done. So, can't get everything right, but man, what a massive screw up. I'm going to make sure that this is down to at least a quarter of a tank. I should have siphoned it, but I do have it going into a pan. Now, I should have just jacked the front end of the car up. I don't know why I didn't think of that sooner, but whatever. Anyway, it's out now. Ooh. Good news is I made it out gas-free. I didn't drip anything on the carpet. This has the sending unit on it. Everything still works, so let's just change the pump and call it good. So, these little rubber blocks have to come off. Now, before you say, why are you doing it on the ground? I just washed this part of the ground because I had so much gas on it, so it should be clean. Okay, one little rubber clip off. I'm just getting under it, pushing them up. I can see where they want to tear, so I want to be careful with it. And you're wondering why I'm doing it like this, instead of just replacing the whole pump. The whole pumps are like 500 bucks. The motors are much cheaper. The electrical connector off, pressing on the side right there, and it's wiggling out. So back to my pick tool here. Just going to try to wiggle this off from both sides. That one came off much easier. Get that line out of the way, and now we can take this out. Okay, there we go. there's a little clip in here on the bottom. I don't know if you can see it or not. Right there. It's right there. That's what's holding the pump in. Okay, I'm going to go at this with a dental pick. Let's see if I can't just pry those little tabs up a little bit. Ooh, all right. Okay, that's all it took was that. So there's our old pump. Okay, hopefully this Bosch matches it. These are about 90 bucks. And yeah, it looks like an exact match. So let me go in and bend that tab down again. The two that I bent up. Just bend them down a little bit. That should be good enough. And then the collector hole has to line up right there. And then we push it back in there, and that is locked back in. In my sea of junk, I found a new crush clamp from something else. So I think I'm going to try that and see if we can't get that to work, because it is the correct size for it. Now I can put my plastic rubbery doohickey things back on. Let's see how those are lined up. So it's the triangle on the top. And that is back together. So really pretty easy to do. Definitely worth it, you know. And I'm putting a Bosch pump in and replacing, what was this? A Bosch pump. So I'm replacing it with the exact same one. I really prefer to do it that way. When it comes to fuel pumps, there are some cheaper ones that you can buy. They're weird names on Amazon, or the O'Reilly version or whatever. I'm always leery of the pump motor itself. That's the thing that scares me the most. So, you know, another cheap way to do it would be to buy a new sending unit, which is this whole piece, and then buying the pump separately and putting them together. You can probably do that for like 300 bucks. But otherwise, buying the exact same Bosch pump with a sending unit is like $550, $450. Find it on sale somewhere. Yeah, they are expensive. So anyway, let's throw those back in. One thing that you need to do first is put the seal on the tank. So I popped the pump out, pulled the seal off, fitted it around the tank, and then the pump went in. These two tabs should be going up and down, I believe. So just make sure that they're lined up the best that you can, eyeball wise. And it should be correct. And then you can shove your flange ring back on, tighten it up. We have to reinstall the hose clamps. So this is the proper type of clamp that you should really be using. These are actually made for fuel injection. The high pressure line, you know, this is, I believe this one's low pressure, so this is the return. You could probably use a regular one on here. I'd recommend using a high pressure on the high pressure side, just to be on the safe side. And if these are hard at all, these hoses should be changed. Mine are still pretty supple, believe it or not, and they don't look like they're swollen or anything, so I think these are going to be okay for more use. Just a quick note that this plate goes on with this hole facing up here. But yeah, it's just screwing these 4 bolts down and closing it up, and I'm done. Yay! Sounds good. Yay! So as you can see right now, I've got the back end of the car jacked up, And I'm just checking for leaks, and what this is doing is pushing all the gas in the tank forward against the seal to make sure that there's no issues. So really that's it. So anyway, I hope you guys like this video. Give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, subscribe to my channel for more weird random information like this, and we'll talk to you guys later. See ya.